So you're about to see an interview that I had with a 13-year-old where I am taking him through something I call a training audit, where I am breaking down all of the possible baseball training categories and then having him grade his performance within all of them. We're also going to be uncovering a few different perspective shifts in this conversation. So check it out, stay tuned, and let me know what you think in the comments below. We're going to basically map out what the next 5 years of your career need to be. What do you need to do in the next 5 years in order to really give yourself the best chance at getting somewhere? Okay, because I don't know what your genetics like. You might have a crazy growth spurt, but you're not 6 foot, right? So I noticed that about you is that you're not 6 foot, right?
My dad's 6'5", but my mom's only 5'2". So
okay, something great can happen, but regardless, I don't think you need to rely on that solely. There's a lot of things athletically that you can really push yourselves toward, right? So performance enhancement it describes like my last decade as a former baseball player. What do I need to do in order to get better as a baseball player? How do I avoid getting hurt? Because that's what happened to me. I threw a no-hitter in high school, and that was my peak. I just got hurt after that.
Really?
Ninth grade, I threw a no-hitter, 13 strikeouts, high school team. It was dope. But
yeah, that's...
I got hurt, and my elbow was never the same. So we're going to try to have you avoid that. How do you become a great hitter, and how do you become a bit better runner? So the first thing is what we just did, okay? We just tested something. We just uncovered something about your body that is holding you back right now. So right now, every single game that you've played up until this point has been in that body. You have been playing the game of baseball in a body that doesn't have all of its range of motion. Think about that. So all the frustration that you've ever felt after a game, during a game, has been because you're playing with a range of motion body in a sport that requires a ton of it.
Yeah.
So testing is number one. Not only do we need to test, if I give you the tests, then I'm going to spill the beans on the rest of it. So I want you to tell me, what else do you think that needs to go on that list as a baseball player? What do you need to do to develop yourself?
I think I should be working on my range of motion more, like stretching and stuff.
Mobility. Good. That's number one. You're going to write down mobility at the top of the list. But number two, you're going to write flexibility, because I want you to think of them as two different things. There are two ways that you can acquire range of motion.
I went to a conditioning coach, well, I still do, and she says I have a very small range of motion in my arms and legs, but I'm one of the most flexible students she has, which I didn't ever really understand what she meant by that.
So muscles can have tension in them. The stronger that you are, the more tension your muscle holds. You'll also have bigger muscles, the more tension your muscles have. If you have a young body, an undeveloped body, you're going to not hold a lot of tension in your muscles. And so the muscles can display as flexible. You are displaying signs of lack of mobility, not flexibility. I didn't even test your flexibility because I know it's probably decent. You're all the way on this side of flexibility, and your strength, you're all the way this way. So you have to kind of meld them. But mobility has to do more with the joints. This is very important for you to understand. So mobility has to do more with bones and joints. So write down mobility is bones and joints, and flexibility is muscles. Remember I showed you that your bones had to move when I went to test your range of motion? Your spine was forced forward. Okay? Yeah. Your bones literally hit a stop. They can't move. That's the thing about bones. Muscles can kind of push back, but bones are dead stop stuff. So there's a dead stop somewhere at your hips and in your shoulders. So the next thing after mobility and flexibility is going to be what? What else goes on the list?
I'm slow. I think I I need speed.
Speed, power. Good. We're going to write down strength and power next.
I'm pretty slow, but
You're also not strong, right? So if you were
Yeah.
stronger, do you think you'd be faster? Tell me that.
yeah.
Do you think if you just worked on running alone, do you think you would develop into the fastest person?
Not, no.
No, right? Because you need both. You also need to sprint a ton and you need to do power work, but you also have to invest a lot of time in slow and controlled movement. Okay, that's what strength is. Slow and controlled movement. And then power is fast and explosive. Also controlled movement. Okay, what else goes on that list? What's next?
Balance.
Balance. What about coordination? Accuracy. So coordination. You need coordination and accuracy in baseball for 3 ways, right? You need ground ball. I need to catch something. I need to catch something in my glove on the ground, in the sky, and right at me. So catching, hand-eye coordination. Then you need hitting, hand-eye coordination. I need to be able to get the bat to the ball, right? And then you need throwing coordination. I need to get the ball to go in the location that I want. So that's it. That's your balance, right? You don't need to stand on a beam. You don't need balance, okay? You need to do those 3 things really well. The next thing on that list is nutrition, okay? What you put in your body. I mean, I have a decent amount of muscle mass on me because I've been eating a lot of protein for a long period of time. So you need to invest in your protein intake for sure. But a lot more cool things that you can do to make food taste good and recover well, stuff like that. Running mechanics, throwing mechanics, and hitting mechanics are the next things on that list. Write them down. You have endurance and you also have mental skills, but we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about mechanics today. We're going to talk about something that I don't think you're able to get anywhere else but me. Okay, I'm combining 2 worlds. So in the strength conditioning world, you have a lot of like kind of science, personal trainers. They'll tell you the techniques of things and explain them in detail right before you do a push-up. But pitching and hitting coaches, tell me if this has been your experience. What type of approach do you get from them? Tell me about your experience with hitting coaches and their approach.
They always like show you form before like looking at your form. Like they'll tell you what's comfortable for them, and if sometimes it's not comfortable for me. Like my stance might be different than my coach's stance.
Cool. I like that. That was a good feedback. So I want to today try to argue my approach as being the most like scientific approach, if there ever was one, right? So what if there was just like one main mechanism with hitting? What if every hitter is doing the same thing? What if Go ahead.
The game wouldn't be fun, I feel like.
What I'm arguing, here's what I'm arguing, right? So we all have the same body. We all have the same body parts. Would you say that there are body parts involved in swinging a bat?
Yeah.
Cool. Which body parts are? Let's list off all the body parts that are involved in swinging the bat. Ready? Go ahead. On your paper. Go.
Your head.
Keep going.
Your eyes.
Keep going.
Arms.
Take out the head and eyes because that's accuracy. Take just muscle groups and body parts below the head. Arms. Legs.
Chest.
Torso.
That includes the hips.
Torso is kind of the upper half, like belly, not attached to the arms. And then hips, you got it. Hips, knees, feet.
Yeah.
I include like the legs as a thing to track as well. hands, arms. You nailed it with the arms, shoulders, and torso. Okay, but you have a left, right, left, right, left, right. So that actually, let me show you this. Ready? I'm going to share my screen with you. Check this out. So, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Torso, front shoulder, back shoulder. So that's, there's 17 here. But everything we just listed, arms, ribs on the torso. So the torso, but then also these like ribs I track. Hands, hips, legs, knees, feet. All right, cool. Would you agree that this is like a sensible list of body parts? Like, hey, like I kind of want to know what those things are supposed to do.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. We're on the same page. So now, here's where the only way that you're going to be able to track what these body parts do is that if you have a specific language to do so. Right? Because otherwise, you would be saying what the body part does in a like an unagreed upon language, right? Because one coach could say that the body part is doing one thing, like, oh, the body part is like twisting. And then this coach is like, no, the body part is like turning. What do you mean? Right?
Yeah.
You see how those are vague terms?
Mhm.
Would you say that you've heard some vague terms in your life?
Definitely.
Definitely, he says. Okay, that was my experience too. I'm glad we're on the same page. Okay, so would you agree then if there was one like unified language that like scientists came up with, that was like, that's the language we should use? For hitting mechanics, right? So what I'm arguing is that every pitching coach and hitting coach should like probably start using this language, right? Because this is the language to describe the movements of the body parts. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So why haven't they been using that language? Why haven't you heard that yet? Or better yet, do you even understand the language yourself, right? Do you know what? I'm going to stop my screen now. Do you know what external rotation of the shoulder is? Show me that. Oh, you don't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. What is internal rotation of the shoulder? Wow. Okay. So do you get my point? Is that it's not your fault, but you've probably invested a lot of time and money into hitting coaches before too. So this is a big problem because you're not getting a full picture because nobody's actually sat down and taught you what these words mean. So you have to first be able to read the language. Write down like movement terminology. Write that word down when it comes to those mechanics. Unless you acquire this language, and I'm not even saying it needs to be for me. Let's take me out of it. Let's just talk about this. Right? Would you agree that that's something that you need?
Yes.
Why? Now you tell me. Now forget, I just told you that. Now you're telling somebody why you need that.
So that you can understand better what your coaches are saying and they don't have to use such like vague terms.
But the coaches aren't telling me. What do you mean? So the coaches aren't telling me. Why do you as the player need? You're telling another player why they need this. Forget about the coaches. Why do you need this language?
So you can know how to better yourself and so how like know what you're doing wrong and how to fix it.
Do you think that? Yeah, exactly. Do you think that now watching players? Imagine you had this language. Now you're watching players slow motion swing. Do you think now you'll be able to like understand a little bit more what they're doing?
Yeah.
Why? Because you what?
If you understand what they're doing in the language of it.
In the language of it. Okay, so now you have specific language to say, hey, that's what he's doing with his hips.
Yeah.
Like that's hip flexion. That's hip retraction. He's doing that. I see it. Okay? That's the skill that you need to develop. Write that down. That is a skill that I possess because I invested my time into it. You do not possess that yet. What did you write down?
I wrote movement terminology is a skill.
Yeah. Okay. So once you are able to understand that blueprint that I wrote for you, I created that. I went through the beginning, middle, and end. Every single scene. All right, I'm gonna pull it up for you. Let's look at it together. What did Mom say? Did she answer you?
Yeah.
What'd she?
When I texted her, she said a half an hour.
That was at like 2:00, right? So she should be almost home.
She said, "Tell him we can reschedule if he wants anytime."
No, we're crushing it on time. So she should be home soon, and I still want to show you this, so we got plenty of time. All right, this is pretty cool because nobody did this. I had to do this for myself, and I'm like, I really genuinely want